Now, hi, I hope you can hear me. I just wanted to do this little video. It's kind of testing to see whether this works as well as a means of communicating my section of our little project. 5 things I came across of things that are very important in project management and the reasons they failed using the example of the university accounting system, why it failed. First thing is, it had no budgeting forecast. Basically, there was no legal advice sought for entering a contract with an IT company, a software company. Basically, they were given free rein. There was no clearly defined role and responsibility, especially when outsourcing. So tendering and procurement processes need to be adhered to when, especially when seeking outside information or outside help, or if you're employing from the outside of the organisation. So that's the first, the lack of budgeting. Lack of planning. Basically what they did was they moved the whole project team to a new office without any things in it, which was completely lack of planning. So the project team were left in an office without, from what I can see, tools, computers, chairs, desks, or maybe just computers. It didn't go into detail, but basically there was no preparation, so 5 months went by when a lot of work could be done that wasn't done. So planning is essential. The senior management responsibility. There was no buy-in. We used to call this buy-in from the top down. There was no senior management to advocate or to sponsor and support the project. Therefore, project managers came and went. Of course, the understanding and the learning that they took with them, and it meant a lack of consistency. It's essential to get a senior management buy-in or sponsorship so that there's some accountability for the project and when it falls down. The lack of timeline. Their deadline was unrealistic. It's not just about planning for when we're going to finish the project. This is the time we need to finish the project, but it has to be a realistic timeline. They had a timeline, but the deadline was unrealistic. They were never going to meet it and it wasn't ready on time. So therefore they should have been able to reassess and replan, but they couldn't. So basically the deadline went but the project wasn't ready. So you need to have some system of replanning a deadline and being able to postpone your deadline date if need be. The other thing is that brings into a thing about risk management and contingency planning. That would have mitigated the fact that it wasn't ready on time, but they didn't have any of that. It can mitigate it to, a contingency plan can mitigate to some degree, but you can't plan for everything. The volcanoes can still happen, the sky can still fall down, the company that you're dealing with can still go broke. There's still things that can happen outside of your control. So you need a way of rescheduling or replanning. And then, of course, the lack of contingency meant that they were out with the old and in with the new, even though the new wasn't ready, and out with the old, even though they still needed the old. So they weren't using the old system and the new system in an overlap period, which it needs to happen. So you need to have some sort of contingency in place in project management. And there, what I can see, the 5 things that are very important is planning, budgeting, timeline, contingency, and a sort of a hierarchy or responsibility for the project, or an organisational responsibility. So they're the reasons why the university accounting seemed to fail. But they're the were 5 of the basics of project management that I came across when I was looking at session 1. Hope that helps, and see you all next week.